time on this show, Tony. But you got to miss Mike Wilbon, don't you?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. No, of course I did. Of course I did. He's on vacation. I miss him terribly. He's in Japan. He's going to China. He's going to Hong Kong.
Whirlwind travel.
That's right. Yeah, but you've been great. I'm really happy that you're here. I think you did a hell of a job. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. With Wilbon slacking again, I am pleased and fortunate to be joined by our great friend from First Take, ESPN Radio, and every form of media everywhere, Mr. Stephen A. Smith.
Thank you.
Oh, seriously. I woke up early. I got on the TV about 5 o'clock. You're the first face I saw in the overnight Sports Center.
Well, this is how it goes sometimes.
You're working too hard. We begin today with the trading of Russell Westbrook. Not to Miami, but to Houston, of all places, where Westbrook will be reunited with James Harden. To make room for Westbrook, the Rockets sent Chris Paul into exile in Oklahoma City. This gives Houston the two most ball-dominant players in the NBA. Stephen, how will they coexist?
Well, they're going to coexist because over the course of 82 games, when you've got two preeminent stars in the game who are unstoppable offensively, like Russell Westbrook, who can't be guarded one-on-one, like James Harden, who can't be guarded one-on-one, it's going to open up the floodgates to some degree. Russell Westbrook is bigger, stronger, more athletic, and 4 years younger than Chris Paul. He's more of an offensive force, more offensive-minded than Chris Paul. Some would say you don't need that because you already have James Harden. But the reality is that the reason why one could argue Houston didn't have the level of success we had anticipated is because you ran James Harden into the ground and there was nobody definitively to rely upon other than him to deliver the goods offensively. The question to me is going to be about Mike D'Antoni and whether or not he can reel them in when necessary, particularly come late in the postseason. But I think in terms of dynamic duos, these boys are lethal. I totally approve this message that the Houston Rockets sent by acquiring Russell Westbrook.
So when I found out, my first thought was this can't work. They are too selfish. They need the ball too much. They're back-to-back MVPs. They can each score 30 points at any point. So my question was immediately, well, what happens in the last 4 minutes, in the last 2 minutes? Who is going to want the ball? Or are they going to be coachable? And I thought, I don't know if this will work. But now I'm going to relate it personally to you and I. We are mic-dominant people.
Yes.
We like to talk.
That's right.
We don't need anybody else to talk. And you come on this show, we do 3 days, the shows are great. Nobody would have thought that would happen. So maybe with these two, I mean, I'm willing to be optimistic, though. Intellectually, I feel what happens when they have to have the ball each other.
My challenge to you would be what's your definition of success? And I say it rhetorically in this regard. If you're talking about the Houston Rockets winning a championship, okay, I get you. I think the Lakers and the Clippers should both be favorites over them. But if you're talking about what they were going to be moving forward with what they had compared to what they have, I think this is an upgrade.
Well, let me pin you down. Do you think with that talent, in the backcourt especially, do you think they can win a championship or will they get in each other's way?
I think they can challenge for the championship, but I don't think they'll win. But it's not because of them. It's because I don't believe Mike D'Antoni can coach those guys when it counts. He'll win in the regular season. He'll get you a couple of rounds. But when it really, really counts, going up against a Steve Kerr or a Doc Rivers, I don't think Mike D'Antoni's that guy. That's just where I'm at with it. As we all know now, CP-3 is gone. Chances are he won't be in OKC for long. Owed $124 million over the next 3 years. He's got a huge choice to make in all likelihood. Accept a huge buyout or resign himself to the fact that he'll be in a situation where he will never have a chance at a championship again. So, Tony, here's the question. What now for CP3? And what choice should he make?
I look at Chris Paul as an irritating player in decline. Nobody wants to play with him as far as you learn. I don't see how he can last in Oklahoma City at all. They got nothing there. This is like being in an outpost.
He's not going to want to be there
at this point. So my first thought when I heard about this was, well, the place he ought to go is the Lakers. The Lakers ought to trade for him. It gets him with LeBron, who he really likes. He might be terrific. He can stick it to the Clippers if he wants to do that. But I also thought the Lakers have nothing to trade. They got no players, and they took 300 draft picks to get Anthony Davis, so I don't know how that would happen.
I'm going to tell you how it could happen. CP3 has to make a decision, which is why I posed the question that way, because here's the reality. When he was in Los Angeles and he elected to leave, he walked away from what was going to be, because they were going to offer, the Clippers were going to offer him 5 years in excess of $200 million. He walked away from that, essentially cost himself anywhere from $20 to $40 million by going to Houston. And now that he's departed from Houston to OKC, if he were to accept the buyout, being owed $124 million over the next 3 years, if I'm Sam Presti and the Oklahoma City Thunder, I'm not letting him buy out his contract. It's going to cost him at least $10 to $15 million that he would have to give up.
But you think they would buy him out?
Without question.
Okay.
Without question. So, because remember, they already saved $50 million on the Russell Westbrook contract, had an additional year at $47 million plus the $3 extra million he was making in Chris Paul this year. The point is this. If you are Chris Paul, you have a decision to make. You want your money and stay in basketball purgatory in Oklahoma City because they're rebuilding. It's not purgatory, but they're rebuilding right now. That's what the situation is. He wants to compete.
It won't catch up with him because he's too old.
Or let them buy you out, accept a few less $1 million, maybe settle for $105 to $110 million, and then you're free to go wherever you want and go join your brother LeBron James in L.A.
Isn't that what you think will happen?
I will tell you, I think it could, but remember, he and Rondo can't stand each other. And remember, Rondo's not.
You know what I feel
badly
for? I think those State Farm commercials are gone. Certainly the ones with James Harden, because they hate each other.
They are fun.
I think they're gone.
They are fun, though. They are fun, I must admit.
The Oklahoma City Thunder have now seen Kevin Durant, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook come and go. In return, the Thunder now have accumulated 15 first-round picks between 2020 and 2026. So apparently, they will try to rebuild through the draft. Stephen, will this work?
Hell no. Excuse my language. It's just not going to work. And let me tell you why it's not going to work. Because, Tony, as we sit here today right now, you said 15 picks.
A lot.
From 20 to 2026. Do you foresee them acquiring another Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook?
No.
Well, that's what you had.
Yeah.
So if you're Sam Presti, no disrespect because he is an astute general manager. He's exceptional, no doubt about it. But you had Serge Ibaka. You had Reggie Jackson. You had Russell Westbrook. You had Kevin Durant. You had Paul George. You had Victor Oladipo. You don't have one single championship to show for that. Now, show me one executive in the history of any sport that has had that level of talent
hasn't won.
And that has not won a championship. Anybody out there in America, take your time. I will wait. It has never happened. So to me, if you didn't show that you could get it done, and I blame Sam Presti only in the regard that even though Scott Brooks and obviously Billy Donovan are respected in their own right, the bottom line is when you look at that level of talent, there are people who thought this should have been a better coach for those guys. In the end, it never happened. So why should I believe it's going to happen now?
So if I'm Oklahoma City, I look at this, I look at the draft, because I can't get a free agent.
Okay.
I had Paul George with a 4-year deal. And after 1 year, Paul George said to me, get me out of here by midnight. People aren't going to want to go there. That is an outpost in the league. So the only way I can build is through the draft. The problem is, and I think you're alluding to it, maybe once every 4 or 5 years, a guy comes along around whom you can win a championship. They're going to have to package these draft picks and send them someplace else. And if I'm Oklahoma City, I also look at this. Who got rich this year? A New York City team, a Los Angeles, California team, and Houston, the 4th largest city in America. What am I? I got no chance in Oklahoma City. No chance.
I will say this is the last point. I don't think Paul George left OKC more than he went to home in L.A., near L.A.
Is he still in Oklahoma City? Did I miss something?
No. It's just that,
is there a different geography?
It's not saying, I don't want to part Oklahoma City.
Up and he said,
did commit to that.
By midnight.
I got you. I'm just not going to hold it against him in that regard.
All right.
Let's move on. In an effort to assuage the concerns of NFL players and quite possibly fans everywhere, certainly Mike Wilbon, who swears the NFL could give two hoots about safety, by the way, y'all, the NFL apparently has stepped up to the plate with an idea. An 18-game season in which players are mandated to participate in only 16 games. Tony, do you like the idea?
No, I love the idea.
Oh.
I just love the idea. I love the idea because the first thing they do by saying you can only play 16 is they blunt any notion that they're not concerned with safety. Whether they are or not, they blunt that notion. They probably get rid of dopey exhibition games in which good players get hurt for absolutely no reason. Mm-hmm. And they put strategy back in football because now if you're a coach, which 2 games do I sit Tom Brady? Which 2 games do I sit Khalil Mack? Which 2 games do I sit Saquon Barkley? And you're going to have to let teams know because betting is a factor here. You can't say, I'll let you know it's a game time. No, they're not going to let it be a game time decision. I think this brings tremendous interest and excitement to the NFL, and also takes the critics out of play.
I got to admit, I love it too. I really, really do. I really, really do. Because first of all, you got 2 additional games. Hopefully you're getting rid of the 2 of the meaningless 4 preseason games.
All right,
one would assume so. Okay. And I also like the challenge of coaches having to figure out how to play reserves.
Yeah.
I also like the idea. I also like how transparent it's going to be in this regard. Okay, I got a scrub like Blake Bortles, for example, hypothetically speaking, of course. And then we look at him and we say, okay, he's not starting for anybody. But then he's going up against a moribund franchise, and suddenly he's in the starting lineup for a game or two.
Because that's the game you think he can win.
That's the game you think you can win. So now we see how the teams feel about competition instead of assuming everybody deserves the same level of respect. You're noticing scrubs when you see them.
Backup quarterbacks become more important than ever. And you ask, well, why would the players do this? Well, the players would do this because the NFLPA, not the owners, the NFLPA estimates that 2 more games could add as much as $2.5 billion, of which they would get 50%. Are they going to go against more money? They're going to say, I don't want more money?
I will say this in defense of the players. That same article you read from, I read this part. The additional 2 regular season games every year will reduce the average career span from 3.3 years to 2.8 years. That's crucial because players currently become eligible for post-career benefits such as pensions and health insurance after 3 years. So if guys are not going to last 3 years, you might not have to be concerned about pensions and health insurance, and that's a big deal.
When you cover basketball or baseball, and the average lifespan of a career is 3 points something?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yes. Yeah, and 60% of the salaries are to minimum players.
Let's take a break. Coming up, Federer beat Nadal at Wimbledon this afternoon, but can he take Djokovic in the final?
And the Dodgers had the best record at the break, but are the New York Yankees more likely to win it all? Guess what my answer is going to be, Tony?
Don't tell me you're a Yankee.
Come on now. Come on now.
You were not a Mets.
Of course, I'm absolutely not. I didn't watch the Mets until I turned 18.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by Sport Clips Haircuts.
It's time for Toss Up, the game I have never lost. Check the ledger. Almost 18 full years of wins on the line against Stephen A. What's first?
Toss up, more likely to win it all, the Dodgers or the Yankees?
I'm a New Yorker like you, but I was a Mets fan, so I'm a National League fan. I'm going to say the Dodgers at this point. The Dodgers hit almost as many home runs as the Yankees. They got power from both sides. Their starting pitching, the ERA is over a run under what the Yankees starting pitching is right now. They've been in the World Series twice. I think it's their time. I'm saying the Dodgers.
A couple of things to point out. Number one, I don't believe you're undefeated in 18 years. I want to ask Michael Wilbon about that. That's number one. Number
He's
two,
in China,
New York Yankees.
Japan.
Okay, here's the deal. I'm here. 4th in home runs in the league, 149 home runs, a 31 game home run hitting streak. You got Sanchez, Torres, Voit, Gardner. LeMahieu. At least 12 home runs. You got Sabathia, Tanaka. I'm looking at Aroldis Chapman as my closer. I'm looking at the setup man with Britton and Ottavino. Come on now. I'm looking at the New York Yankees, and you're going to give me the Dodgers, who are allergic to prosperity and the California sunshine, keep losing World Series.
Wait.
They get to
where are the Yankees the last couple of years? Did they win anything the last few years? Stop.
Listen, Yankees last won a series in World Series in 2009. Dodgers last won it in 1988.
That was a big one. But
it was 1988.
That was a big one.
But it was 1988.
Great year. Next.
Toss up, who do you expect to win Wimbledon, Djokovic or Federer?
I expect Djokovic to win. I want Federer to win. Federer is so much more beautiful to watch. Federer against Nadal. That was absolutely terrific. If Djokovic actually catches and passes Federer for career majors, and anybody tells me he's a better player all time than Federer, I'm going to say you're crazy and you're wrong. But I expect Djokovic to win because he's only lost 2 sets the whole tournament. Federer's basically gone 4 with everybody, but I'm rooting for Federer.
Of course I'm rooting for Federer, and I think Federer is going to get Grand Slam number 21. Here's my issue. Federer, if he had gone 5 full sets against Nadal and it lasted 4+ hours or something like that, it would have been different. Took the man out in 4 sets. Looked absolutely phenomenal in the semifinal. I'm just looking at the fluidity of his game right now. Unlike 2016, 2017, when he was a bit unhealthy, that is not the case right now. And I think Nadal is more of a problem for him at times than Djokovic. So I look at it from that perspective.
Djokovic is 9-6 over him in majors. 9-6.
9-6. Well, 6 losses. That means there could easily be a 7th.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It's like, to me, Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes. Like, I don't care what Larry Holmes' record was.
Right.
Muhammad Ali was a better fighter.
But that's not the point. By the time he fought Holmes, he was a bit too old.
That's
now, that
right.
doesn't work here because
But I'm
Federer
rooting
is
for
older than
Federer,
Djokovic,
is my point.
but I think Federer can win.
Next.
Toss up, where should Taco Fall spend the season? The NBA or the G League?
So he's 7'6", so wherever he spends it, you're going to know about it.
That's
because
right.
He's 7'6".
That's right.
I don't think he's got the weight or the position to hold up in the NBA right now, but I would tell you that I'd rather he play in the NBA than the D League, because if the goal ultimately is to get him to the NBA, what is the point of practicing and playing against players who are in the minor leagues? You know, let him force feed him. Bring him up there. If he stands still and raises his arms, it is above the basket. That's great.
I am saying this. I have no problem with him being in the NBA. I want to see him in the NBA. But I would like him to work his way up through the G League, at least for a couple of months or so. Show that you're capable of competing against that level of competition before you come and play with the big bulls. Remember, he's tall. He ain't big.
That's right.
I mean, it's the
That's
closest
right.
thing to
He'll
Manute
get
Bol
pushed. He'll get
that we
pushed
have
out.
seen.
He will get pushed
And
around.
as a result of that, I just want to see him be deserving, because the only thing I know about Taco Fall is this. He promised that Zion Williamson would not dunk on him, and Zion Williamson did not dunk on him in the NCAA tournament. So it's nice that he lived up to that, but that's all I know about him.
He'd be a great attraction. You want to get him up there.
Okay.
You want to
Okay,
see.
let's-
Next.
Last one, toss up, which Grayson Allen flagrant foul was worse, the first or the second?
So in the words of Dan Dockage doing the game last night, and I quote, get him out of the game. On the first one, Grayson Allen got picked and then threw the guy to the ground. On the second one, he simply clubbed a guy who was going by him for a layup. Grayson Allen was problematic at Duke. He appears to be problematic in the NBA with Memphis. It's one thing if you are a star player, but if you are averaging 6 points a game, your career in the NBA is not going to last long if everybody hates you.
I have a real problem with Grayson Allen right now, because I've been one of the individuals that has come to his defense in the past and spoke about the need for compassion, because clearly when you saw him just have a complete meltdown at a Duke game when he was there, I mean, he's on the bench knowing how stupid of a mistake he had made. He just seemed to be an individual out of control in need of some kind of management, and I think that Duke did a good job of going about the business of addressing that. Now here you are on the pro level. And now you're doing it again. In a span of 7 seconds, he got himself ejected not once, but 2 ridiculously flagrant fouls.
Yeah.
To me, demote him to the G League and let him know it's not just about your skills, but it's about how you conduct yourself as well. Somebody needs to send him that message. I'm sorry.
Well, in the G League, do you think he could dunk on Taco Fall? Because I don't think
he'll do that either.
It was close, but I win. Let's take one last break. Still to come. Alex Bregman, I win.
How?
It's scoring system. You don't know it. Alex Bregman takes a ground ball to the teeth.
And will Serena get her 24th tomorrow?
Again, she's expected to win.
So she still got to do it.
Yeah.